You know, I've had a lot of friends and fans come up to me at trade shows, which I attend a lot of, and tell me, Paul, I love Transit Unplugged, man. That's the greatest podcast. I listen to it all the time. But no one has ever said to me what our guest today told me a year ago in Florida. He came up to me at a transit conference. He said, Paul, my name is Schneider St. Preux, and I want you to know that I've listened to every single episode of the Transit Unplugged podcast, and it has helped me advance in my career dramatically. Wow. What a great fan, and what a great story that he tells us today. Hey, so I wanted to ask you, drivers, people that came up as bus operators have lots of crazy stories, man. And even managers do. I've got, when we go to conferences and we sit down with friends, we all talk about our crazy stories, like the time I got stuck on the 13th floor with an elevator going to a pre-bid meeting, those kind of funny things. Tell us about the craziest thing that's ever happened to you, or one of the craziest things ever happened to you at work.
So sometimes we have some transit supervisors that work with us right now commonly remind me of a story, and it was really funny. It was funny to now, right?
Yeah.
I was driving on one of our largest routes. At the time, it was called the Route L, and they normally call it the L from hell, right? And we renamed it after the Better Bus Network. They call it the Route 79. So I was operating a bus, picking up my passengers for the AM peak services, and I heard a semi truck braking very hard, and all I could hear is the tire screeching. And while I was boarding the passengers, I saw this lady walking across the street without any shoes on. And I was like, hold on, she's coming my way. So I let her on the bus, and I told her to make sure she behaved herself. And when she sat down, Paul, to be honest with you, not even a block away, as I started moving the bus, she started going crazy. So I opened up both doors and asked the passengers to exit the bus, right? Because it's sort of like an emergency happened. And I told her, hey, listen, you're going to have to get off the bus. And I probably used some colorful words. I can't remember at that time, right? And I opened both doors. So she bypassed the rear door. And I'm saying, okay, she's going to get off the front door. No, she made a left and jumped in the driver's seat. So
we had a Seinfeld situation with Kramer getting on the bus.
Everybody started scrambling or whatnot. And I had to rush up front. And at the time, you could remove the handle from the bus. I removed the handle from the bus. And when I called bus traffic control, they sent PD there. Till this day, that remind me of that story. Oh, man, that lady almost took your bus. You wouldn't have been here today.
Wow, Schneider, that's something, man.
Yeah.
Well, when you have those kind of experiences, though, it does. You say drivers remind you of it, but it also reminds them that you were in their shoes, that you've done their job, and I think that's beautiful, man. How important is it, do you think, to gain the respect of the people that work for you, to know that you actually know their job well enough that you've done it?
Yeah. So absolutely. And that's an advantage that I have, right? Talking to the operators, understanding what they go through on a day-to-day basis, right? You could always relate, because for the most part, I think half of the bus operators that we have here currently, I have driven with them, right, during my time as a bus operator. So every time they come to me, tell me stories, even some of the union reps, right, I could definitely relate. And I take it's a special place in my heart whenever an operator is going through things, right? And also it's an advantage too. So when somebody tell you that they can't do something, you could actually say, well, I was in that position at one point and it wasn't as challenging. But, definitely it gives you a better understanding, gives you a better knowledge. And actually, when you sit at the table, you can relate. And you can even express to your executive leadership, this is how things happen behind that steering wheel. So it's definitely an advantage when you have that actual experience operating a bus.
Schneider St. Preux is this year's award winner for one of the top 40 under 40 mass transit leaders from Mass Transit Magazine. He is the General Superintendent of Bus Operations for the Miami-Dade Department of Transportation and Public Works. He's worked his way up, began his career in 2012 as a bus operator, a bus driver, and now heads up bus operations for the largest transit agency in the state of Florida and the 15th largest in the United States with 750 buses and almost a $200 million budget. And he tells us what it takes today. On this episode, he takes us through his career, the lessons he's learned, and gives direct, specific advice to people who want to move up in the transit industry about how they can do so. Talks about investing in yourself and the importance of higher education. All on this episode of Transit Unplugged. I'm Paul Comfort. Enjoy the show. One of the greatest compliments I've ever received for the podcast is one you gave me a year or so ago when I was at some conference or something, and you said, Paul, I've listened to every episode. I think at the time it had been like 260. You've listened to every episode, and I can say that this show has helped me in my career.
That's 100% true, Paul. And we were at the FBTA conference. I remember that conversation that we had. Obviously, you know, as an aspiring leader or a person that wants to move up in transportation, you have to sort of become a junkie, right? I have several books back there, and I got a couple of your books back there that I purchased some time ago where I was able to kind of venture off and find out some more personable information about some of these leaders and how they were successful. So throughout those whole entire podcasts, obviously these people can be human, right? And they could actually tell you the do's, the don'ts, where they were successful at, some failures or what have you. So I think I took advantage of those podcasts just to learn from some career leaders and some transportation leaders to, you know, kind of navigate my career.
That's great, man. Well, congratulations on your award this year of being one of Mass Transit Magazine's top 40 under 40. What an honor, man.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate it. And I guess my hard work was noticed, and made some of my bosses, Ulyss, Sean, Adgerson, Joel, Perez, definitely recommended me. And also, I work hard every day, Paul, and I really love transportation. I became a transit nerd, and I'm always committed to providing transportation in this industry. So I'm definitely honored, and I'm very humbled for getting this recognition.
Absolutely, man. I was happy to be able to send a recommendation letter for you too, because you definitely deserve it. You are, you know, I don't even call you an up and coming leader anymore. You are a leader in the industry. I mean, you've moved up and you've made it. And I know there's a lot more to come for you. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Tell me a little bit about your career, Schneider, and what you've done and where you've gotten to where you're at. All
right. So I started here at DTPW, formerly known as Miami-Dade Transit, as a bus operator in 2012. So during that time, my career path wasn't in transportation. I mean, I've heard so many testimonials from other individuals, especially some of these executive leaders, and how they got into transit. And it's funny how everybody similarly had the same stuff. They just applied and they never thought about transit. And my career path, or where I wanted to take my career path, was into law enforcement. So I said, you know what, this is probably the easiest way for me to get into the county. I applied for different municipalities, different agencies, and it just didn't happen. So after being a young bus operator, listened to several testimonials from other current bus operators, I was like, wow, these guys really like what they do. So having that experience, you know, dealing with the public, wanted to make a difference in my community that I was born and raised in down here in Miami, I said, let me go ahead and try this out. So after a while, I got involved in different organizations like Compto. Also, after started to see sort of the benefits in transportation. So I saw several other individuals that started the same area that I started in, sat in the same seat, and they kind of climbed to the top. So I kind of followed that transition. So went from a bus operator to a scheduler, from a scheduler, bus traffic control, and then I moved up to currently as a general superintendent. So it's similar to a director of operations. So I oversee somewhere close to 1,900 bus operators, which includes a training department, a control center, as well as all the field operations. And I have a passion for this, and I also want to continue to do this for the rest of my career.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but I know if you're listening to this podcast that you'd be interested to know that Transit Unplugged actually has more products than just a podcast. We also have a TV show. Did you know that? Yeah, it's called Transit Unplugged TV. You can watch it on YouTube once a month. It comes out on the second Thursday of every month. And in it, we visit different cities around the world, just like we do on this podcast, but you actually get to see and hear what's going on there. We show you the food, the fun, and culture, like a traditional travel show. But then our unique spin is that we also show you behind the scenes of the public transportation system and how to use that system to get around the city, to see all those great sights. I think you'll love it. Tune in and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube on Transit Unplugged TV to get to see and hear the best in public transportation around the world. One thing you didn't mention, but you did move agencies one time, and you went over to Broward County and then came back. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on, sometimes, it's funny, I just had a conversation over dinner this week. I was at a conference, and we did one of our, comfort salon dinners where I invite leaders together, and we talk about our lives and careers. And one of the guys was saying to the other, who was in a similar position as you right now in another agency in America, and said to him, sometimes you got to leave your agency and go somewhere else, get another year or two's experience, and then it's like they welcome you back in at a higher position or grade or level. What do you think of that?
Paul, if anyone could do it, I would always recommend them to do it, right? Because sometimes we become too indoctrinated into the business practice that we're doing at the current agency. And it's always good to kind of expand your horizon. Actually, you get to kind of network with other individuals, but you also get to see the other different business practices. Like, for example, how you deal with the union, right? Our union is totally different from Miami to the one that they have in Broward County, ATU. Obviously, it's South Florida and everybody know each other, but the business practice and the business flow is completely different. So you try to take the best practices of both and try to marry them at some point. Obviously, the size of agencies definitely matter when you're trying to make some of those changes. And also, too, the culture is a big change as well. So I think any leader, the biggest issue or the hardest part of their job will always be the change in culture. But it was definitely great. I had a great time there. I spent a year working under Angelica Jones. She's currently the deputy director at Broward County Transit, and they have a lot going up there too.
Oh man,
I know Corey is the
Corey
CEO.
Kaufloderkin. Yeah.
Corey,
she is amazing.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. They have a great team, an excellent team up there, and their transit is expanding as well. But I'm glad that I was able to come back and, with open arms, and we have a lot going on here in South Florida as well.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But I still want to spend a little bit of time on your career, because this is a unique show. We normally talk to CEOs of transit agencies. Here we're talking to a general superintendent of bus operations who was recognized as one of America's top young leaders. So I want to share with people your career path a little bit more. How important would you say education is? Because you got a bachelor's and a master's degree. As you move up the ladder of success, what would you say to someone about the importance of higher education?
Well, higher education definitely gets you at the door, right? Obviously, the experience will get you in the door, but investing in yourself, making sure that you put that effort in, investing in yourself, even getting into different type of leadership programs or even different type of training programs, certificates or what have you. It's definitely a benefit, and it gives you that opportunity just to sit at the table to kind of sell yourself or market yourself. And it's just been a great pleasure and a benefit for me to move up within transportation just as of getting my master's degree.
Again, the fellow that we were at dinner with this last week is doing the same thing. He's getting his master's. And a lot of times when you work at a public agency, they can help pay for it. So that makes it even better and easier, and it's tough. I went to law school at night while I was running transportation agencies. And I know that, going to school, even part-time, I was doing full-time, 10 to 12 credits a semester. It's challenging. I think it's important to stress to people that as you move up the career ladder, normally executive positions require advanced degrees, which would mean a master's of some type or a doctorate of some type, like a JD, what I have. So it's important. I like the word you used too, is invest in yourself. That's really what you're doing. It's not easy. If you have a family like you did and you're working and then you're also going to school, sometimes you have to prioritize what's happening in your life. That's what I did.
Definitely. It's about investing in yourself and committing to something, especially once you set a goal. So if you want to set that goal, reach that goal, go out there and go get it.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, I want to ask you another question about career changes for people. So one of the concerns I have seen over my 37 years now working in public transportation is that people are often promoted from a frontline worker like a driver or maybe an A mechanic to supervisor roles because they do a great job at driving or at turning the wrench. But when they're moved into supervisory positions, they're not given the full scope of training that they need, not just to, like, let's say for you, okay, now, Schneider, you're not a driver anymore. Now you're going to be a manager of drivers. So maybe they show you how to do payroll. Maybe they show you how to do a few things that you need to know administratively. But explaining to them that your job is now not your own performance. Your job is to get performance from others. Talk to us about that dynamic.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that question, Paul, because that happens all the time, right? And I'm pretty sure it happens in the private sector too. We're all guilty of it. I mean, you have people at the executive leadership level that does the same thing. You have your what you would call your thoroughbred, or the person that produces the most, the people that understand how to do the job the best. We always want to take advantage of those individuals and give them an opportunity by making them move to the next level, which we would think that they would be successful. Sometimes the learning curve is very, very hard, Paul. I've seen several colleagues, several employees that I've had an opportunity to promote that couldn't actually, get around that curve to be successful in the supervisory role from the frontline position. At the end of the day, the way that we kind of combat those type of challenges is to ensure that we invest in our people, right? And that's one of our pillars here at DTPW that the director has continued to push on to us, is to invest in our people, making sure that we provide them the training that they need to be a part of, making sure that you're following up with your folks, making sure that you show them that you care about them, and providing them the opportunity, which is great. Now, not everyone wants that opportunity, but right. If we do give them that opportunity, we have to make sure that we invest in them to make sure that they're successful.
I think people need to have a healthy degree of self-knowledge, don't they, about, do I really want this? Because it really is. So when you go home tonight, you can't turn your cell phone off. You can't turn your radio off. You've got to be ready, don't you?
Right. You definitely do. I mean, this is specifically to bus operations. It's a 24/7 operations, right? And, most of us understand that. And like me, my wife understands it as well. So when my phone is ringing in the middle of the night, or we have to activate the EOC, I have to be ready to go, right? It's a commitment. And my commitment was to, give everything that I have to transportation. That's when I started. And I said, you know what, this is what I'm in it for. Obviously, with individuals that, that we seem to think that they deserve an opportunity, some of them don't want to take advantage of it because they don't want those responsibilities. Nevertheless, I've seen successful stories as well where individuals that thought they couldn't do it became superstars and they continue to climb up, right? So again, it goes back to, what do you want to do? Set your goals, investing in your people, making them feel comfortable and making them feel like they're a part of the team as well.
The last question, Schneider, you basically, it looks like you've had like a 12-year career in the industry and moved from driver to superintendent of all the drivers, over 1,000 drivers. Pretty awesome, dude.
Right.
As someone's listening to this who maybe wants to follow a career path like yours and move up in the industry to management and senior management, what's your advice you would give to them today?
Yeah. Well, one of my advice is to believe in yourself, right? Believe in yourself and invest in yourself. Don't shortchange yourself. Always set your goals. Once you understand how to set your goals and try to reach them on a regular basis, you begin to invest in yourself. One of the ways that I became successful is knowing my job, right? And I think that every successful CEO, whether it's in public transportation in any other organization, right, is that they know their business. So knowing your craft, knowing and understanding what is your responsibility on a regular day basis will always make you successful. You don't have to be an actual subject matter expert at each and every subject, but just understanding. But as you continue to move up within the organization, you'll definitely be able to get subject or surround yourself around a subject matter expert that knows the business that will help you make better decisions as you move right along. So just believing in yourself, investing in yourself and understanding your business will take you a long way.
That's great. Schneider St. Preux, thank you for being our guest today, one of America's top 40 under 40 transit leaders. The future is very bright for you, my friend.
Appreciate it, Paul, and thank you. I really appreciate you for having me on this show.
Thank you to Schneider St. Preux for being a guest on the show this week and sharing his inspiring career path. Hi, I'm Tris Hussey, editor of Transit Unplugged, and coming up next week is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts on the show, accessibility. On the next episode, Paul chats with Ron Brooks and Kristen Joyner about their new book, All Aboard, Conducting Accessible Community Involvement for Public Transit. Ron and Kristen talk about real, practical things you can do to improve accessibility at work, at conferences, and across your agency. Transit Unplugged is brought to you by Modaxo. At Modaxo, we're passionate about moving the world's people, and at Transit Unplugged, we're passionate about telling those stories. So until next week, ride safe and ride happy.